Right now, the cryptocurrency market is trying very hard to find a bottom, and I'm going to talk about some charts that you need to pay close attention to in this video. Hey guys, these numbers look really crazy today, and they tell us a very important story. That's what this video is all about. We'll talk about some reasons to be hopeful, as well as something that happened yesterday that makes me think there may be a little more bad news left. I'm going to show you what the biggest XRP holders are doing right now, so make sure you stay for the whole thing. It's very important that you stay until the end for that. As always, your help is very appreciated by this site. Thanks to everyone who likes and subscribes. You have no idea how much those little things help me. Also, one last thing before we start. If you have cash on hand, now is probably the best time to think about buying. If we look at what I think is the most important chart right now, the one that shows the market's maximum surrender in terms of XRP, we can see something that should really stop you in your tracks. It looks like the most giving up point in XRP's history has been reached. The market is experiencing a lot of fear, as shown by this picture. The price of XRP is currently the most oversold it has ever been, and it's not even close. In the history of XRP, we have only been at this level once. That was after the Terra Luna and FTX collapses, when the whole space was collapsing and the news was nonstop. We're still at that level now. Let's get this straight. The crash we are seeing now is one of the worst in the history of crypto, with few crashes coming close. The market tells you that's how stressed we are. As you watch this movie, I know some of you are thinking, wow, how much worse could it get? Or, when will things finally get bad? That's what I want to talk about right now, because if you're still here after reading this far, it means we're almost done with the move. XRP has never been this bearish before, where we aren't sure if we found a bottom a few days or a few weeks later. I'm going to say something that, based on past events, I think is very safe to say. We're getting very close to the bottom. How much is that going to cost exactly? Hey guys, no one knows. I want to be honest about that. Anyone who says they can tell you the exact low to the penny is either lying or about to be embarrassed. Now, blockchain funding has been all over this crash from the beginning. What does he say? He says it's not yet the bottom. He hasn't seen the big shutdown event he's been waiting for. It's still been a while since his orders were filled. Backers of blockchain are still waiting for this to end, and, well, we'll see if he's right in the end. He's been very right so far. But I think the most important thing to remember is that it's pretty much like shooting fish in a barrel right now. No matter what price you buy at, 1.25, 115, 113, or 1.05, the market has fallen apart. Choice of the exact starting price is not the most important thing at this time. The bigger choice is the most important part. People with cash on hand or dry powder should use it during this time. I believe it's that easy. I don't think most people will be able to make this too hard for themselves and force themselves to find the bottom. Last but not least, this chart, which shows all the times people have given up, tells the whole story. There is no time in XRP's history when it fell to levels like these and didn't truly hit bottom soon after. As of these values, the price has been sold too much. We don't know if the bottom is in right now, if it's 10 cents lower, 5 cents lower, or if we get one last ugly wave. But we do know that right now, in this relative time frame, we are very close to giving up completely. For the most part, things will stay the same going forward unless XRP does something it has never done before, or unless we enter a type of unwind and forced sale that has never happened before. You reach the lowest point of despair, go through a rough patch, and then the turnaround phase starts. Now, I want to show you another picture that I think is very interesting. It shows why this is happening. It doesn't give the whole story, but it does make a picture. The way Bitcoin is trading right now is a lot like dealing software stocks. To put it another way, association is high. I know some people will claim that Bitcoin is a hedge or digital gold, but correlations get smaller when the market is fully risk-off. Things deal with each other. So what's the link between these things? Many ideas have been put forward. The backward carry trade is one example. You have easily borrowed money from other countries, mostly Japan in many people's minds, that you've put into risky assets. When volatility goes up and people stop wanting to take risks, the unwinding begins. It's also possible that the same companies that put a lot of money into high-growth tech also put money into crypto, and when they cut exposure, they cut it everywhere. In the end, though, I think there are two main things that have broken the market that are happening now. The first is what happened recently with Binance, the event known as 1010, Max Pain, Max Cash, and liquidations that looked like they were going in a circle. The second is that more people are willing to take less risk when they enter the market. I really think we might have a little more to fall because of this. You can't just use crypto. A quick look at what happened with Amazon stock shows that it's getting smashed after hours, even though earnings weren't that bad. That's the picture of risk off. It's fear. It lowers the risk. It's computers taking a break. The funds are lowering their risk, and it often has nothing to do with what's important at the moment. Where did that fear come from? Several people have brought up the talk about Trump's new choice for Fed chair, someone who is thought to be more hawkish, someone who could keep interest rates high and make the economy shrink more. Also, let me say this. It would surprise me if Trump chose someone who did the same thing as Jerome Powell. He has been complaining about high rates for a long time. That would be a huge mistake for policy. It would be weird to pick someone and then complain about them for doing the very thing you said you didn't like. I hope that doesn't happen, but who knows? It's clear that the market is responding to doubt. A lot of people are scared about what will happen to risky assets if rates and liquidity rise or fall. It doesn't matter if you're right to be afraid. The market is still telling you something. Feelings are too strong. That's how you get to the point where the stock is now overdone. People will try to get you to believe different reasons and stories by throwing them out there. But the things that make me most sure of where we are now are: one, when Binance went from 10 to 10, there was that loop of selling. And two, the reverse carry trade unwind, or at the very least, a larger event of forced deleveraging. Because this is the truth. Right now, people are giving up, and that can only happen if big companies go out of business. There isn't this much pressure to sell just because stores are scared. Retail can't do this on their own. It looks like funds, companies, leverage positions, and systematic strategies are all being unwound. When you look at what happened with Binance, along with what's going on in other markets, you might see the slow fall of positions going on behind the scenes. People who were not stable during times of change, people who had too much debt, people who took part in the carry trade, people who were long risk too much and couldn't keep it up when the market turned. In light of this, I find it hard to believe we will get through this without someone going down. It's not clear who it will be. I'm not going to act like I know everything, but there's a problem here for someone. When you look at the size of this event and compare it to other crypto events, it's very clear. If we look at this map again, the only event that even comes close is Terra Luna plus FTX. The C19 crash is another big one that you can think about. Another big drop can be seen in the early stages of the Fed's rate hike cycle. But in this case, the fact that there hasn't been a single big public story about it yet makes me think that the story will become clear in a couple of weeks. Someone is likely to be revealed as the person who had to sell huge amounts of money behind the scenes to stay in business. We don't know the answer yet, but I think I can figure out what is likely to happen. Liquidations and feedback loops are set off by Binance events. Fear on a global scale rises, and risk assets sell off. Carry trades calm down. Big players hide their actions. The move is sped up by forced selling. It all adds up. The market doesn't slowly go down when it compounds. It falls apart. That's what giving up looks like. It makes you feel. It is rough. It seems like the end of the world is near. Because of this, most people find it hard to buy right now. It seems careless to buy something that is falling in value. But in the past, those are the times when the best chances have come up. Now that we're talking about attitude, Brad Garlinghouse said something about all of this. He's basically saying the same thing over and over. Be afraid when other people are greedy, and greedy when other people are afraid. He's saying right now that when other people are scared, this is the time to be greedy. I really do agree with that in a broad sense. I had no idea we'd get to this point. There have been times in the past when I didn't like what was going on in XRP, like when Terra Luna and FTX failed. I knew at that point that things were going to get worse and there was no way around it. But what's strange about this current event is that we don't know much about it. I never in a million years thought that things would go so badly so quickly after all the good changes we were seeing in the environment. Because of this, I keep getting to the same spot. You can only see something this big if something has been going wrong behind the scenes, but we haven't heard anything official yet. Some smaller companies have already gone out of business, but I don't think that's big enough to cause what we've seen in the market as a whole. Someone bigger isn't happy. Someone bigger is being pressed down on. Someone bigger has to relax, have more than 1 million XRP in their account. It's going up since September 2025 when the sell-off began. It's been going up. And this is what you usually see as the market gets close to giving up. When the market hits these low points, the biggest players start to buy more. They buy when things are bad and sell when things are good. We need to learn one important thing from this sell-off. This is not related to the basics of XRP. That's been clearer than ever. There are more and more whales. They are going to buy the drop. Brad is basically beating the table over the issue of fear versus greed. Somewhere, something is going off. People who had a lot of these assets are either going bankrupt or are being pushed to lower their risk. There is a cycle of liquidation. Finally, once the forced sale is gone, the assets are priced back to where they should be. That's what we're up against. If you asked me to guess, like if I had to bet, are we within 30 days of the bottom right now? Are we 10 to 15 days away from the bottom? There's a 95% to 99% chance of that happening. I'm sure we're that close. I believe there is still one more sale spike to come, just one more shakeout, just one more moment of sadness. That's why what happened overnight is important. When risky assets open for business, Amazon is down about 10%. This is not a good sign for what could happen tomorrow. Cryptocurrencies often take a short-term hit when big tech does. Because fear spreads quickly, if we have another day when most people don't want to take risks, crypto could go down even more. It won't change the bigger picture, though, even if that does happen. We're in the zone. At this point in time, things are likely to change. That doesn't mean it turns at 2 p.m. today. It doesn't mean that it turns at a certain price. It means we're in the area where chances for generations are most likely to be made. So that's what I'm calling it. A possible buying chance for young people. A possible bottom for generations for XRP. People might remember this time and say, I can't believe I didn't take advantage of that for years to come. For those of you who don't have dry powder right now, remember how it feels. Make it stick in your mind. Because the next time you feel like this, when everything seems hopeless, when everyone is freaking out, and when looking at your portfolio makes you sick, that's usually when the best chances come up. When things like this happen, you need to be careful. You keep cash safe. Wait, you don't go after hype. Then you send people out when there is blood in the streets. That's the game. That's how this works. Do I think the bottom is already in? I'm not sure. I'm still waiting for a few more people to give up. Blockchain backer is still waiting for the last moment of closure. One more shakeout is still what I need, but it looks like we're very, very close. It's likely that a few more dominoes will fall, a few more events that need to be made public. I'm keeping an eye on a few of the bigger players to see if they can stay in business. The lesson doesn't change, though. No matter how messy the last few minutes of this sell-off get, the market has never been this oversold before. There are more and more whales, and the only thing that makes sense at this level is forced selling. That's where we are now. Thanks for being here.